It's time we start a conversation about the NFL overtime rules. And not that they are unfair or fair. I don't like that conversation because the truth is, life is not fair. You're not going to always have everything that you would like when it comes to a sport, your job, your work, your relationships, school. Not everything's going to be fair to you in life, and that's the truth of it. But when you are being limited of entertainment that could be further evolved, I would say, or potentially better, because we have just witnessed probably our greatest weekend of football in my lifetime. In my life, that was probably one of the greatest weekends of football I've ever seen. Kind of close to sometimes some weekends with college football, but overall, when it comes to just NFL, that was the greatest weekend of football that I've ever seen. Every single playoff game had major stakes. I mean, it was a playoff game, duh. But it also, every single game was not skippable. You could not skip in the third quarter and you didn't know who was going to win that game. I didn't know that the 49ers were going to win that game. Towards the end of that game, I was even telling my own family, I was like, man, this just feels where the Packers make their move. This is where Aaron Rodgers makes that signature drive that puts them away, puts it too far out of reach. And then the blocked punt happened. I could not believe what I was seeing throughout this entire weekend. And then you hit the last game, the Bills versus the Chiefs, which gave it poetic justice on why the overtime rules need to change. They have to change. I'm not saying they need to, they have to. We are being limited of such a great ending in one of the best sports in the world. There was a bit of a debate on TikTok. I made a video about it on should the rules change, and we had a couple people voting that the rules shouldn't change because it shouldn't end on a mini game. It is kind of fair. I will agree. It's fair in the sense that both sides have an opportunity to win in overtime. But when you have a sport that has been acclimated towards offense, every penalty that gets called is more likely towards the offense gaining yards. And when you put everything onto one drive to finish a team season, it gets a little frustrating that the other team doesn't even get an opportunity to sniff the field with half of the players, especially the Bills and the Chiefs gives it the best reasoning. The Chiefs would not be in the position that they are in that game specifically without Patrick Mahomes making the plays that he did, and Tyreek Hill obviously as well, the offense. The Bills would not be in the position that they were in that game without their offense. Neither defenses got them there. You leave a coin flip to go against two scorching hot offenses with a game that is built towards offense, and we are being limited to one drive. That's where I get a bitter taste when it comes to the overtime rules, is that we are being limited of potentially a clash of titans in one quarter. After a fourth quarter, that was already fantastic. I know the defenses were exhausted, but I feel that if we had just played another quarter of football, we would have maybe gotten a winner. And if we didn't, guess what? Go to a mini game, go to a 25-yard line. Each team gets a drive and just keep going back and forth till you get a winner. But I think if there was one more quarter, one of these quarterbacks were going to break, one of these defenses were going to make a play, somebody was going to make a play. Instead, we are putting it all on one drive on a coin flip. I would still be making this video today if the Bills had won. I'm not saying this just because I wanted the Chiefs to lose, which I'll admittedly say I did want the Chiefs to lose. Bills were in my Super Bowl. I would have loved to gotten my Super Bowl pick right if the Bills won, because I think the Bills would have beaten the Bengals. I get things wrong. I get things wrong. I accept that. But I don't accept the fact that this game, which is so good and is evolving every single day, especially when the overtime rules themselves have changed. The NFL is very aware that they have acclimated the rules towards offense. It used to be the first drive only needed a field goal. Can you imagine that? For the Ravens, they only need to get to roughly the 50-yard line for Justin Tucker to potentially send a team home. I'm fine with the regular season ending in ties. I don't love it, but I also would love for more Raiders versus Chargers-like games where a tie could send both of them there. That's cool. That's something that is unique to the NFL when it comes to football. You don't get that in college football. There is no ties in college football, which also allows for college football endings to have a more sweet ending, I feel. We watch a 4 overtime with Alabama versus Auburn, and everyone feels satisfied at the end of the game, except Auburn fans. Everyone felt kind of bitter at the end of that Chiefs-Bills game. Other than Chiefs fans, obviously you win the game. And I feel so bad for Josh Allen to not even have an opportunity to sniff the field just because his defense wasn't there. And I know it's a team sport. It's supposed to be both sides of the field. That's why I feel that it's fair. With the rules that are in place, it is fair. Both sides have an opportunity. If the Bills make a stop, they only have to get a field goal to win it. But I feel that if we just played one quarter of football, there would be more interesting strategies implemented. You would get more plays. You would get more desperate opportunities. What if there's a 4th and 1 and there's a quarter to play? Teams could clock out. You could have a 6-minute drive. I'm thinking there's just so many ways to handle this better. I don't think going to college rules is the best way to go about it because things will probably go on much longer. I think if you almost treat it like soccer. Soccer's the biggest sport in all of the world. If you didn't know that, if you've been only sheltered to American sports, soccer across the World Cup's one of my favorite things in the entire world. See what I did there? They go into extra time when there has to be a winner. Obviously, regular season, a tie is able to happen, but when it comes to postseason and playoffs and tournaments and things of that nature, you have to have a winner, and they would play extra time. Now, the way that they do it in soccer is much different than the NFL. Just set a quarter for the NFL instead of stoppage time, which is very different. I mean, they're two different sports, but set an expanded amount of time after the regulation, and then you go to a mini game if someone doesn't win in that extra time. What's wrong with a mini game? I mean, a mini game, you're not saying go for a 40-yard dash. A mini game tends to have a bad connotation with it when it comes to American sports, I feel. We even have it with hockey, I believe. Basketball just goes to overtime until someone wins. And it feels that this game specifically has everything figured out except for its ending. I've always said that best college football games are better than the best NFL games, but mid-college football games are worse than mid-NFL game. Because the NFL as a sport, as its regulation, is better than any college football game. But its ending that makes college football just so much better. And I feel that if NFL changes their rules to better support a overtime where you can have bigger plays, more things going on. And I know someone responded to my TikTok saying that, well, the NFL doesn't allow the games to go on that long. Well, change that. I don't care. Who wouldn't want 30 more minutes of that Chiefs-Bills game? And I've been saying this for years. Any overtime game in the playoffs, I feel that Tim Tebow, yes, he made that great throw to Demaryius Thomas to win that Steelers game, and that will be forever etched into history of the NFL. But I would have loved a Big Ben response to a play like that when the crowd is rowdy. I mean, could you imagine first play in overtime in your home stadium, and as a away team quarterback, you have to hear the loud, roaring stadium just praying that you make one mistake. If Big Ben throws a pick, the game's over. Or even if it just takes the entire overtime, one last game winner in overtime, one last Hail Mary, I feel like that's just a sweeter ending. The game that led up to the overtime was so good. It was fantastic. I think it was 25 points in the last, whatever, like 3 minutes, 4 minutes or something. It may have been even less time. I mean, Patrick Mahomes only needed 13 seconds to score and put the game into overtime. And then just because Josh Allen picked tails, he has to be punished and out of the playoffs. I feel like that's dumb. That's limiting a better quality ending for the NFL. And if Roger Goodell is not looking at this, but if he is, and he is looking through all the videos of people saying change to overtime, change it, dude. It's simple as that. It is simple as that to go to an extra time. Even if it's just a regulation and just keep going and over, that's fine. But making it this one drive, this one sudden death penalty is terrible. Even if you make it where a team gets one drive and then whatever happens on that drive, if it's a field goal or a touchdown, the opposing team gets one drive to respond, and you just keep going back and forth, that's fine too. I feel like that's more fair. But to limit one half of a team that was equally there, no matter what the paper says going into the game, it could have been Jaguars versus Chiefs. If the Chiefs and the Jaguars go into overtime, on that Sunday they are equals. And you are cutting that equal in half. And it just, I feel like it's bittersweet. That's the best way I can explain a weekend of football that was madness. It was bittersweet, and it shouldn't have been. I'm still feeling really good about this weekend, but at the same time, change the overtime rules. It's simple as that. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below what you think the overtime rules should change to, or if they should change at all. I love reading your comments. I get notifications on my phone all the time, and it's probably my favorite part of the day, other than having to deal with classes and things of that nature. And I'm trying to produce as many videos as I can. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.